and good evening to all of you. And I want one person to share tonight what was a fantastic experience today. Just one. Can anyone share a fantastic experience you had today at TCI? Is anybody willing? Go ahead. Want to share?
I had the opportunity to visit with this guy named Bill, and he's been stopping smoking, and he's like, I need to substitute things in my life because I have a lot of idle time. And so now he's becoming more interested in God. He's coming to the cooking school on Sunday, and he's just making changes. And that's exciting to see that he's like, I need to substitute things in my life for better things.
Thank you so much. And that's really special. Every day, every week that you go out is really special. You have to exercise faith. You have to exercise courage. To meet new people, you have to exercise many things. Thank you, Bailey, for sharing. I appreciate it. Substituting things. It's a good one. That's what we had to do, too. I want to tell you tonight about the faithfulness of God and how important it is to each one of us if we trust Him and really believe in that faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. I will do a brief recap of what my husband was diagnosed with. Many of you know that he was diagnosed with intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma in 2013, August of 2013. And here's a picture of it. You can see it in the lobe of the liver, and it was starting to etch into the main lobe of the liver also. So they did a resection. They removed 2/3 of his liver, and they did also split the jejunum and brought the bottom part of the jejunum up to the duct system of the liver, then split that side of the jejunum and brought the part from the stomach and connected into that part of the jejunum. It's a bit difficult to explain, but there he is just after surgery. So I want to go back. We went back to Mayo this last week and had to do retesting of all of his blood and also his CT scans of his body. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that. It's very cold in Minnesota right now. We had like minus 35 degrees when we got there. Lots of snow. You can see the mounds of snow there that we were there, some of them almost 8 feet tall, 6 to 8 feet, and then everywhere snow. And it did snow while we were there one time, but fortunately it was only around 3 to 4 inches, so it wasn't bad. It was just we managed, and then we were able to blade the driveway where we were. But this is what we were driving in. So as we were flying there, you know, you think back about all the things that have happened, all the blessings you have, and all the things that have happened with Dr. Benson. You think of the fear of the unknown. You don't know for sure. You think of what if. What if it would come back? You have that apprehension sometimes. You know you're going to get retested. You know you're going to get everything done again. But then you go back to trusting, thinking of all the things that God's done for you all the time back. And through all the years since 2013, what has happened since that time in his life, and how we fought for his life for nearly 2 years for him to be able to live still today. So then you think about the trusting, and then you go back to the faith, and you believe that God's going to take care of this again. And then you accept it. Whatever may happen, you accept that God is in control of your life. And so those were the thoughts that we were talking about as we were on the plane flying to Mayo. When we arrived, we knew that we were going to have a new oncologist. For the past 2 years, for the past few years since 2013, we have been working with 2 oncologists. The first one was an exceptional oncologist. He took 5 hours to talk with us about the situation, which was absolutely phenomenal. And we were so excited about it because he really cared. You could tell he really cared about it. But then after I think it was 2 years ago, he left and actually came to California, and we want to try and find him if we can and see him again. But he then left us in the hands of another woman oncologist there who was phenomenal also. She was really good to work with and very kind and very thoughtful. And she was the one that when my husband asked her, how is my health? Should I go to Rwanda, Africa, or should I stay in California or stay in the States, in Michigan? And she looked at him and said, "Are you asking me if you should go? Are you asking if you are okay to go, if your health is okay?" And he said, "Yes, I want to know if you think that I'm well enough to be able to go to Rwanda, Africa." And she looked at him and she goes, "Go. Go. Go," she said. "There's nothing holding you back." She said, "There's no sign of cancer in your body whatsoever." So it was an answer to prayer, and so in answer to prayer, Dr. Benson felt that he wanted to give his life back to God for what he had done for him. So we didn't know how much history this new oncologist really knew. We were a little bit wondering who she was going to be like and what she was going to do when we got there, and how much history she had really read about my husband's case. So the first thing they do when you get in there, of course you have a tech person. They're going to take your weight and height and pressure, your blood pressure, and all of these, of course, were normal. And so the tech did all that for us, and then we waited for the oncologist. They take you to a room, and you wait in there for the oncologist, and you can hear the shuffling on the outside of the door of the papers as you're waiting. And then pretty soon you know they're looking at the chart, and pretty soon you hear this little knock on the door. And so we always say, "Come in." It's like they're coming into their office. So we invite them in. And she looked at all the lab work, and she looked at all the paperwork, and she looked at us, and she said, "I'm not really the oncologist that was supposed to be here." She said, "I have come to help this oncologist. And the reason why I'm here is because she's been so busy today." She said that I could help her with some things. And she said, "You know what?" I told her, I said, "I have not seen any good news yet with this type of cancer." She said, "I would really like to meet someone who has a positive experience with this type of cancer." And so the oncologist said, "Well, then, why didn't you go in and meet Dr. Benson and his wife?" She said, "I think you would really enjoy meeting them." And so she came into the room and she said, "I had to just meet somebody who is still alive from this cancer." And it was really a neat experience because she told us that it was a fantastic report that they had done for him. All of his blood work was normal, which they never thought his liver enzymes would be completely normal again, because they had been way up in the 300s, and they were now way down below 100, and they were in the normal range. And they were so surprised. She said, "It's very rare to see this happen." But all of his blood work, even the liver enzymes, which they never thought would be normal, were actually normal. And she said, "You have such a good report that I really don't know what to say." And so the result from the CT abdomen pelvis scan was this: no suspicious hepatic lesion, no significant biliary ductodilation, no lymphadenopathy, spleen, adrenal glands, and fingers are negative, no suspicious osseous lesion, no evidence of recurrent or metastatic cholangiocarcinoma. That was the CT abdomen. And the CT chest scan was no interval change, no indeterminate pulmonary nodules or infiltrates, no effusions, visualized bones of the thorax are negative for metastatic disease, and it's a stable exam. We were just praising God for this, and all of his blood work was totally normal also. So as we were leaving, after we told her, we sat there and we told her our story, because she wanted to hear our story of what had happened. Because like she said, it just doesn't happen like this. So as we were telling our story, we wanted to make sure that she understood that we really felt that God had intervened in this situation and made it a miracle for my husband. And she agreed. She had to agree as she was there. And as we were leaving and going out into the Mayo Hall, we were walking down the hallway of Mayo Clinic, and there's always a grand piano out in this long hallway. And oftentimes when we were struggling for my husband's life, someone would be playing at that piano. Mayo allows good music. They allow classical music or hymns, and they were playing oftentimes How Great Thou Art or Amazing Grace. In those, as you would walk by, you would hear this. And I remember many times walking by, because we never knew the outcome of what was going to happen to my husband during all that time. Tears would run down my face as I was thinking about all this, and we were dealing with the chemo and with the not feeling well and pushing him around in a wheelchair sometimes. And it was so fantastic when we heard them playing again. As we were going by, we paused to listen, and we reminisced how God truly had answered our prayer once again with everything being negative. And we realized the hope that we had. So I just wanted to mention a few things here that every one of us has to deal with different types of life challenges. We all come across various difficulties in our lives. Sooner or later, we all face them. And we all handle them in a different way, depending on how we've been trained, depending on how sometimes it just happens because we're not really trained for those things to happen. And we have to deal with them in different ways. And sometimes we do it by trial and error. And sometimes things don't turn out exactly like we wish they would because we did do it by trial and error. Dealing effectively with our difficulties and problems requires appropriate emotional control, acceptance of realities, charting out a course of action, and finally taking preventive measures to keep future problems at bay. Thus, arming ourselves with the right intellectual, mental, and spiritual strategies to get through these phases can help us achieve successful breakthroughs. It's really important to think about things and don't get panicky about your situation, but think about it, plan for it. Think, what can I do? Make it as a challenge in life instead of as such a devastating thing. But make it as a challenge of what you can do with God's help to make it happen. Emotional response to a difficulty or calamity is normal, and it's only human. However, emotions have to be managed and channeled appropriately, or else they can manifest negatively within our personalities and affect our lives in general. Think about that. Research confirms that emotionally reactive individuals confronting even relatively minor challenges in their lives are prone to increased physical problems and diseases. So facing life challenges. The longer we live, the more challenges you're going to face. You might as well just accept that because that's going to happen. Learning to handle life's problems effectively is an essential skill that can have a drastic effect on your health and happiness if you learn at a young age how to handle them in a good way. Building solid problem-solving strategies and coping with skills can help you manage when life throws its punches at you. And it will, in different ways. Everyone has problems in life. Most of the time we can quickly solve them without too much trouble. For example, if you oversleep in the morning, you get up, you jump up, you call your work and say, I'm going to be a few minutes late, and you're getting dressed while you're calling your work, and you run to work. That's a simple problem. But sometimes you have more difficult problems, like facing cancer or like facing difficulties at work that you don't know how to handle. Problems become more difficult when there's no obvious solution to them. Our strategies that you have tried in the past, they don't work sometimes. And these types of problems cause a great deal of stress and anxiety and require new and different strategies. So here's some of the solutions that you can do. You realize that there is a problem, first off. Then you think about it. Take time to think about it. For example, you might think the problem that I am always stressed at work, whereas it's better to think and say, there is a problem at work. How am I going to handle that problem? And then you zero in on what that problem is. For instance, maybe you're working too many hours. You have difficulty with work situations, with cohorts, with different people, with different things. So then you begin to think of solutions, decide on solutions that are best, make an action plan, and make sure that it's working. And then, of course, I want you to realize that God is always in control. That is the most important thing that you can ever realize. Trust in God, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in God with all your heart. It doesn't say with some of your heart or a little piece of your heart, but it says with all thine heart. And lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. He knows you. He knows what's going to happen to you. long before you ever have it happen to you. Then you claim his promises, Exodus 14:14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. If you claim those promises and you trust in God, let me tell you something. He answers those promises. He said he would. Believe in him, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. And then move forward in faith. Psalm 46:1-3. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. So when you have those problems, trust in God. That is the most important thing that you can do in your life that I can give you tonight. Because during those difficult years with trying to take care of Dr. Benson, I needed to trust in God. And it's the most important thing that will give you courage and strength to get through the hard times in life, wherever you are and whenever they come, because they will come. We've been told they will come. We haven't been promised a rose garden, but we've been promised the strength and the courage to cope with it. So I'm now would like our team to come back up, and we're going to sing Great Is Thy Faithfulness. Thank you very much. Yeah, appreciate it. You can all stand.
Number 100. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth. Thy own dear presence to cheer and to guide. Strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning,
Hi, guys. Sorry. Just wanted to remind you that tonight we're having the mission trip meeting for the Philippines for those of you that would like to join us. Upstairs in my classroom.
Shall we bow our heads for prayer? Father in heaven, I want to thank you so much for your gratefulness, for your faithfulness, for everything you've done for each one of us every day, every morning. The fact that we can get up and walk in the morning, that we can see, that we can hear when so many people don't have those things. Lord, I thank you for the blessings that you give to each one of us, and I pray that you will be with each one of these young people as they leave here this evening, that they will take you with them every day of their life, and that they will become even better and more powerful witnesses for you every day. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.